Hi everyone, Sothany Afraid Tano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of this new Janelle Monáe album, The Age of Pleasure. This is the fourth studio album from rapper, singer, actress, songwriter, Janelle Monáe, treating us to another detour from her ongoing Metropolis series, which she hasn't touched since 2013. No, God, no. Because fans remember back in 2018, the last LP that she came out with, Dirty Computer, while great, was not necessarily the next installment of that Metropolis series, which I feel like a total nerd saying, but it's true. The record was pretty much a lot of funky, glistening, conscious future pop, dealing in feminine energy and living free, sex and sexism, as well as spitting in the face of bigotry in an anthemic way. There was a lot of very pretty and modern production on this LP, songs that popped. It may not have had the transhumanist ambitions of her earlier work, but again, still great. Now, The Age of Pleasure here also seemingly exists in its own world. Thematically speaking, it is possibly Janelle's most human album yet, as the project doesn't really seem to concern itself with technology much at all. This record, conversely, is more about celebrating the self and having parties and having sex, specifically with respect to queer love. And a lot of the tracks on this LP flow into each other really tightly too, making the entire project feel like this smooth, multi-phased, cohesive experience, which is cool. I mean, for one thing, it does keep the record from feeling as scant as it is at just 32 minutes, but there are other things about the album that feel kind of off. For one, a lot of the instrumentals from this thing pull inspiration directly from reggae music, really the most prominent influence on the entire record, honestly. But by that same token, up until this point, I don't think a Janelle record has sounded so stiff, robotic, and sanitary. And look, I love reggae, especially deep, thick, bassy dub reggae, but the renditions of reggae music on The Age of Pleasure are often just very kind of thin, synthetic, trap fusions that are so regimented and so commercial that even Sean Cootie and Egypt 80's horn sections on the opening track Float could barely breathe life into the song. The following Champagne Shit, by comparison, does have a bit more punch and a bit more groove to it, but the difference is a night and day. Janelle's fun vocal harmonies and glamorous bars are really the selling point of the track. Though, again, some of the vocal layering on this project comes off so sanitary and so processed that the singing just kind of comes off a little one-dimensional. Not wide or full or big in the way that good group vocals sound. This being most obvious on songs like Waterslide. The rhythms and instrumentation on Phenomenal, by comparison, do come off a bit more organic, which is nice. It's like a driving, jazzy, eccentric Vogue anthem that's equally sexy and hypnotic. And I love the way the song smoothly transitions into the following HAUTE, so tightly that it pretty much feels like an extension of the same song. Then there's Lipstick Lover, which was kind of another big single from the album cycle here, which leans into the record's reggae influences in a big way. However, again, instrumentally, the rendition, the version of this genre that we're hearing just feels very skeletal, very thin, not a whole lot of bass or body to it, just like with the song Float. But in the case of this track, the lyrics are so painfully on the nose. At least with a song like The Rush, you are getting a touch of innuendo, and there's some kind of poeticism going into the sexual imagery. But here on Lipstick Lover, the lyrics often just kind of read like horny texts. Also, for such a sexual album, it doesn't often feel very sexy. I will say this though, there is an eerie beauty to the song Know Better that I like a lot. Also, hearing that Darkest Light horn sample in the distance was a nice touch too. There's also an attempt on this record at an I Only Have Eyes for You interpolation on the song I Only Have Eyes for Two. Again, musically, very much the same song, but lyrically kind of flipped on its head to be more about, polyamorous love and threesomes, which thematically is fine. It's cool. I just think the reframing of that song in this way just comes across as kind of tacky. Even if I vibe with the lyrics and the bridge instrumentation as well as vocal leads are really lovely. The closing track of Dry Red is kind of like a short afterthought with some very clever and suggestive bars here and there. Really makes the entire record feel like a short-lived summer fling or a dream of some sort that we're now waking up from. And overall, yeah, I just thought this record was okay. Very light on the ears, not a whole lot of depth to it. Far from Janelle's best best crop of songs, I'll say that for sure. Not really all that exciting, and again, with a lot of these stiff production and very flat and touched up vocal layers, it just doesn't come off as that visceral or that sexy or, you know, in the loins, which is the least sexy way I could go about verbalizing that. I'll put it this way. The record doesn't so much feel like a direct connection to sex as much as it feels like the usage of sex to sell me something, like in a commercial, be it beer or cologne or some revealing swimwear or a sex toy. So in that sense, the record does kind of miss the mark. Even if it is overall decent and a cut above most of what gets released in the mainstream. I'm feeling a light to decent 6 on this one. Transition, have you given this thing a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head is another video you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Janelle Monáe, forever.